was doing defensive slides and agility drills in a hotel room after his second brain surgery in between radiation. And you take a step back, this guy, after a second surgery on the other side of his brain of a recurrence of GBM, was told you might not walk. The first, days after, he's relearning how to use a fork. And 3 weeks later to a month later, he's doing agility drills to make sure his footwork and his, health is top notch as he gets ready for the next day of 30 straight days of radiation. And you just take a step back and you really put yourself in that position. Watching him for 25 months do things like that daily just for himself to get better. This wasn't a show. This was a kid who was he was absolutely determined that somehow he would beat something that was incurable.
And we're rolling. Colin Gerner, appreciate you coming on. It's great to have you, and I'm excited to be able to chat about all things StacheStrong.
Thank you for having me. Excited as well.
Awesome, man. Well, I know we had our last board meeting of the year for StacheStrong just last week, and it reminded me we have a great initiative coming up the month of November. So probably when people are listening to this, it's just going to be the start, and it really got me thinking about we haven't had a conversation on the Gray Matters podcast. We haven't talked about StacheStrong in depth, and so I wanted to do that today. So I just really appreciate you coming on and giving some of your time. And with that being said, I just wanted to go ahead and give you this time to introduce yourself, introduce StacheStrong, how it came to be, and then we'll just take it from there.
Absolutely. Thanks, Josh. My name is Colin Gerner. I am the co-founder and president of StacheStrong. StacheStrong is a 501c3 not-for-profit organization with the mission and focus to raise funds and awareness for brain cancer research. How did this all start? My brother was unfortunately diagnosed with glioblastoma multiforme, known as GBM, in September of 2017. It is the most dire of brain cancers, holds pretty grim statistics, 10 to 15 month life expectancy, and only 5% of those diagnosed survive to 5 years. And that's really a minority of the population. You're seeing largely the under a year within this GBM diagnosis. But my brother, as you got to meet, he really was one of a kind. He took that 10 to 15 month life expectancy and for 25 months lived in a way that only he could, smile on his face 24/7, 2 brain surgeries, 12 weeks of radiation, chemo, ongoing chemo. He wore Optune device on his head, all the while continued to attack his disease for 25 months. And a couple months into his diagnosis, I guess right off the bat, actually, he realized he wasn't going back to work, after he would have surgery. So he started to grow a mustache, and kind of similar to you. And we talked about this last night, actually. But out of surgery, 3 days later, he was at home reading the Wall Street Journal, and we were like, wow, this kid's really one of a kind, right? And started to grow the mustache because he knew he wasn't going into work. My dad and I at the time, joined in solidarity. It was really the only thing that we could do. We thought at the beginning to help and be together in the fight. And StacheStrong happened organically and naturally, just kind of as a family mantra off the bat. And people, it was catchy, started to take notice, grow out their mustache. His surgery was in September, so it was close to this November timeframe. And all of a sudden we had people posting in about StacheStrong and GJ, and before any org or anything was set up, just a little mantra. And for 3 to 4 months behind closed doors, it was kind of my therapeutic release, creating a website, writing his story, our family story, gathering, words, photos, etc., content, basically to hopefully make something happen. And I sat down with my brother, and I'll never forget it. It was at my apartment in New York City, and basically said, hey, I have an idea. I think, you can help a lot of people, and our family can help a lot of people, because from day one, we couldn't find, a now StacheStrong to reach out to and connect to and have a little bit of hope. We had to really foster and create that ourselves. And without hesitation, he's like, let's do this. And I think that embodies Stache Strong. It embodies who my brother was, because here he is handed a diagnosis of GBM, and you Google it, it's grim, and you know what's coming up. And not only did he have a fight ahead of him, he was worried about and focused on how he could help others. And Stache Strong was born at that point. We launched the website, and here I sit 2.5 years later. Unfortunately, my brother passed just over 13 months ago after a 25-month battle. But we ran this together. We've spoken at numerous conferences, events, et cetera, and it'll forever be my way to continue his fight. But we're closing in on $400,000 raised. We just cut a check for our 4th clinical trial, research trial to date, and it's been our focus, right? GBM doesn't have years. We talk in tomorrows and days and weeks, and what are you going to do with that time? And Stache Strong has really proven to be, a living form of my brother now, to continue to help families across the country, on a personal basis, to help them go through diagnosis, and also obviously our mission of raising funds and awareness for much needed research for brain cancer research.
Yeah, for sure. That's and that's what brought us together. And I see the mindset of GJ and I, like being in those shoes of having a brain tumor, whatever kind it is. Like, at least for me, when I was first diagnosed, I was just like, oh, like, what do I do with this? Like, I instantly thought my life is over now.
Yep.
But to see the people that go through those experiences and what comes from it, something like StacheStrong, it's an amazing perspective, because you think beyond yourself. And that's my mission today with the things I personally do. I want to inspire that perspective in people to think beyond themselves. Being selfish can only get you so far, but when something's presented like a challenge, like your health and your life, it just changes someone's perspective on how they live their life. And I see it time and time again, that you just want to give, you just want to support other people. And I really, I see that in StacheStrong. That's like, obviously, like, our paths, we're going to get to it, crossed because of that perspective. And that's why I'm honored to be on the board and to be supporting such a cause, because so many people go through things that could be considered minor or major, and their perspective is what I believe what's hold them back from the things they want to achieve. But StacheStrong embodies the opposite of that. It's empowerment. It's really the vision you hold in your mind for your life and the lives of others. So I'm really grateful that we were able to connect. And on that note, it was September 2018 is when we all met in DC.
Yep, September 18. Yep.
And so let's talk about that. Like, how did you guys find out about that?
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's actually pretty wild, because September, that was basically our 5 to 6 month anniversary as an org, right? We didn't have legs beneath us. We had one event. We had a decent following from friends and family who knew my brother, but another individual who faced GBM, Lexi Caviston, an amazing individual, and one of those people I smile every time I say her name, could light up a room. Unfortunately passed this year, and that's the truth with GBM. But as I said, she could fill up a room just with a smile. And a tweet, Meghan McCain, long story short, retweeted a tweet of hers. She loved Taylor Swift, and next thing you know, she got to meet Taylor Swift and go to her concert, because Meghan McCain, unfortunately, her father was diagnosed and went through GBM. So she was invited onto The View. And, our moms, actually, Lexi and my mom, met through Facebook support groups and had never met in person, but, had been two moms with kids going through a disease that no mom should have to connect about. And, they invited us to The View with them, and we met Meghan McCain and, talked through our org and, our vision. And at that time we were 3 months in, right? Nothing was really happening. And when you look back at it, but a lot was happening. And she noticed that and immediately said, I need to connect you with Joe Biden, who, Bo unfortunately passed of GBM as well. And it's this weird little, spider web of individuals that, we ended up at the Biden conference 6 months in as an org, in a room of 300 to 400 people, invite only, high visibility on social media, big things that are happening across all cancers. And I remember reading your story and noticing that you were going to be there, and I was like, I got to connect with this guy. Just, the minute I read your story and your, like you said, and you just touched on your perspective and purpose, it just ringed my brother in my mind. And I remember you guys meeting. As I took a step back, and here's two guys who had a choice, right? They had, major surgeries and a major change in their life, and both decided to do more with it than hide and come out, and help others. And I look at my brother and yourself, right? A lot of people go through things, and it's everyone's scale of tough is what it is, and every experience is different to every person. But to be able to, like, for my brother, be at that conference and wearing his Optune and being outspoken about his disease, it helped him. I think a lot, going through his diagnosis and being strong through it. But the amount of people it helped from doing so is just so impactful. And the amount of people you have helped and continue to help, even if you don't have a brain tumor, you stub your toe and you could think, Josh Perry, GJ Gerner, what would they do in that moment? And when we met at the Biden Cancer Summit, we had breakfast that morning, and it's really a start of how we got to know you and how you've become a board member for our organization. And, Gigi kept saying, this guy's gonna be involved one day. I really think he could be an awesome help and resource and, pivotal piece of StacheStrong. And lo and behold, that's what happened. But we met at the Biden Cancer Summit, and it was quite an amazing conference to have so many like-minded people together pushing the same initiative forward.
Yeah, no doubt. And it was awesome seeing him smiling, telling a story, just talking to people. I think you guys were filming for a Road ID
Yes.
docu-series that you guys were
Yep.
doing as well, and you guys brought me into that. So that was awesome. I appreciate you guys allowing me to be a part of that. But just the energy that surrounded him and surrounded you and your family, and just the support, that lit me up. And that just that was the main takeaway for me in my experience at the Biden Cancer Summit, was just the amount of people that were not willing to be defined by what they're going through, but wanted to help. They want to contribute either their experience, their story, their learnings, whatever it was. And that's what I saw with you guys. And that's why I was like, yeah, like I'm down, like whatever you put a camera on me, that's fine. Like, let's go. And
Let's do this. And that's the thing. That's funny. I forgot, that documentary, now looking back on it, is huge for our family personally, right? We won't forever have Gigi in a 3-part, 15-minute documentary. But, we connected with that Road ID team and Harris Media Co. Kind of out of the blue. And they came in, they were the Biden Cancer Summit. We had our inaugural 5K that weekend, and kind of just followed us around for 3 days and captured our story. And at first it was going to be like a 30-second, 1-minute clip that they were going to include in other pieces. And, they spent a lot of time with our family. And, I look at that moment too as a pivotal moment for our organization. And they were able to tell our story in such a profound way that we couldn't do, right? For technology wise and resource wise. And we'll forever be grateful for that. But that was a huge moment for us to be able to tell our story and ultimately have so many patients and individuals going through different tumors and brain cancer, be able to look at him on video, smiling, talking about his diagnosis, StacheStrong, our mission, and pretty impactful documentary that we've been able to have behind us since day one, really.
No, I agree, and that's the power of video. And I went through a similar experience, losing my brother, my younger brother. And when I realized I had filmed a vlog with him months prior, and I had all this raw footage I didn't even edit into it, not like on top of the footage I edited in, it was just to be able to have that and to be able to share that. It's an awesome feeling. And then specifically for the mission that you and GJ and the family put together with StacheStrong and helping other people, for people to be able to see someone like that smiling, not being defined by what they're going through. When so many people, like you said, they stub their toe, that defines their day.
Yeah.
They're gonna be miserable that day. They're gonna start snowballing all these other things because their awareness is set on that, rather than focusing on, hey, I woke up, I'm alive, I'm winning, I had the choice. And that's what I saw with GJ. That's what I see with StacheStrong. And just like I said, it makes sense that we we cross paths, we're collaborating, and I'm really excited for
The power of
what's to
social
come.
media, man.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
wild that here we are today, and we're proud to have you as a board member. But it is funny when you look back of what happened to make us here today, for sure.
Yeah. I'm curious because it's rare that I speak with other people like yourself that are kind of on the outside, not on the outside, but like looking into someone like GJ and myself going through these experiences. What is it like for someone like yourself to watch someone else go through that and to see how they choose to react and what they stand for? What does that mean to you? Like what comes to mind in terms of like how do you feel about that? Like
Yeah,
witnessing
no,
that growth.
yeah, that's a tremendous question, and I think it's difficult. It is difficult because there's plenty of times that I look back in his 25 months fighting this disease where you just wish you could take, bricks off their shoulder and carry that load. And really what you have to do is be present. But what happens is you watch someone and you become so inspired and moved. And my brother's he was my best friend, right? I mean, I followed him to college. um, I followed his career path. We did everything together, and our family's always been close. But all of a sudden, you're watching someone and you're so inspired and moved by how they just handle their day to day. I mean, there's a lot of things he went through that we lived very visibly through StacheStrong, right? And that's something that, you know, he decided, and we did because we knew it would help people. Made it possibly more difficult, but there are so many things he went through that people didn't see. And there's so many days of pills and infusions and radiation, and this guy just kept getting up. And one of those times I have the nice part about what we've done is I have so much footage and videos and pictures because we were always together and going through treatment and pieces. But one individual video that, every now and then you have things pop up on your phone of memories and whatnot. But he was doing defensive slides and agility drills in a hotel room after his second brain surgery, in between radiation. And you take a step back, this guy, after a second surgery on the other side of his brain of a recurrence of GBM, was told you might not walk. The first days after, he's relearning how to use a fork. And 3 weeks later to a month later, he's doing agility drills to make sure his footwork and his health is top notch as he gets ready for the next day of 30 straight days of radiation. And you just take a step back, and we posted that and to inspire people and help them, but you really put yourself in that position. Watching him for 25 months do things like that daily just for himself to get better. This wasn't a show. This was a kid who he was absolutely determined that somehow he would beat something that was incurable. And he put his right foot forward and his left foot in front of it every day to ensure that. And watching that as a younger brother is something that, will forever change me, right? Of seeing him and his mindset, right? It's not like I was always the most, we're always optimistic people and positive people in the Gerner family, but you watch someone like that do what they did for as long as he did, and you can't help but feel inspired to continue that fight and do anything you can for anyone going through this.
Yeah, that's something powerful to witness, to see. Like I can imagine just sitting back and just like, what is going on here? But like, yeah, that determination. Because what I find from my experience is like when you're challenged like that, like your life is literally challenged, you discover this power and the strength that you didn't know you had. And it just allows you to push through something like that when something maybe more minor, like stubbing your toes, the example you used, or failing a test, like it just crushes you. But
Yeah.
when something that should crush you based on what most people would assume, it fires you up and it fuels you. And that's something that like I definitely relate to, with other people that have gone through that experience. But I'm always curious of like what the perspective is of other people watching, because I know from my mom, she shared, my dad too, like they both shared a lot of like guilt, like they felt like they caused it or like they couldn't stop it, like you said, like you're looking in and you just wish you could just like take this out, like you could just change it. And it's very interesting to see that perspective because I couldn't imagine, you know, being a parent and watching
Oh
something like that, and then
yeah,
just like there's nothing you can do. Like you can support
yeah.
them, but
And
yeah,
that's what my brother, and that might be a piece of it, of what one of his, mantras was, I can only control what I can control. And what I control, I will control it. And it was a powerful and very just easy thing to say. But when you think about it, he couldn't control the fact that he had GBM, right? We couldn't change that. That was a given. That was a card that was dealt. The next, you flip to the next page. What can I control? And he made sure everything that was within his ability to control, he was in charge of that. And I think that helped him and our family focus on what we could do as opposed to focus on what we couldn't do. And once you take your focus off that, which you have no chance to change, all of your attention is on what the road ahead, right? And what we can do. And I think that is definitely a big piece, a monumental piece for our family and my brother's fight. And that saying he always had is, I can only control what I can control.
yeah, I've seen that as like a recurring theme speaking with other people that have gone through similar challenges with their health, and it seems to be that perspective that comes from it. It's like we're challenged with this experience that we cannot control to teach us and to become aware that we can't control it, but what we can control should be the focus. And that's what you just shared. I see that with you and your family, and that's definitely a perspective I've taken and applied moving forward. And then, moving forward with that intention into the organization, like it's no easy feat to start a nonprofit. Like I've looked into it several times over the years with my own idea of starting one, and there's definitely a lot that goes into it. So how did that perspective of fighting and not willing to be defined by what's happening now, but with a future vision that's in your mind, like how did that play a role in starting something like an organization?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And it's one of those things where our why Stash Strong ultimately started, and my mom says it, and I think my dad says actually in the documentary really, really well, is when we were in that boat, when we got told my brother has GBM and they say don't Google it, you're in for a fight, right? And when you do Google it, we weren't finding an org or a family or a place to just get hope. And when StacheStrong started, that really was our why. We want to raise funds for brain cancer research. All proceeds go towards research. But our why and our mission is that when a Colin gets told that his brother was just diagnosed with GBM, he has someone to talk to. When a mother and father and sister, aunt, uncle, you name it, have a loved one that's diagnosed with GBM or another brain tumor, they have an outlet, to go to. And when you start an org, there's a lot to do, right? There's all the incorporation and paperwork and social media presence and you name it. But doing all that with the mindset of why you're doing it and knowing that you're setting this up so that a family can have that outlet, it is so powerful and so important. And it really is one of those things that even on days that are tough, right now, it is tough to run an org, that's basically built around the toughest thing your family's ever gone through. And now being so that my brother has passed, but you drive that forward because you can't focus on that. We can only control what we can control. And what I can control is that when a family gets diagnosed, and I shared it with on the board meeting, of someone in Alabama reaching out to us, and their young son had just been diagnosed, and they reached out to us and said, we saw GJ was a big baseball fan, our son is too as well. And, he's been looking to that for hope in his fight. And it gives you fire to know that family had a chance to reach out to me and talk to me and our family to find some hope in the darkest days and the start of their upward fight against GBM.
Yeah, for sure. And that, like you mentioned it on the board meeting, it's not something that feels good when you connect with another family going through something like that. But like that's obviously the mission is to connect with those people. But bringing that sense of hope, like seeing someone like GJ in his situation smiling and walking and talking, like that sense of hope, or that belief that like, oh, like maybe I'll be able to walk and talk, and like I'll be, that mindset, that belief can just be the difference of quality of life of weeks and rather than days and all those things. And that's something that I really believe in, is just the power of our mindset, and what we're focusing on can change the whole trajectory of our days to come. And so,
Yeah.
like you said, like it's just amazing to be able to connect with people, because otherwise you may feel like how we felt at the beginning. Like, for me, it was like Lance Armstrong's story stood out to me, because another cyclist, obviously he went through lung and testicular cancer on top of brain cancer. But for me, I was like, that guy went through what I'm going through right now, and he was able to get back on his bike, and it just instilled this belief that like I'll be okay,
Yeah.
because I
I've
had
worn this since eighth grade.
it's amazing. I never got one, and then a buddy of mine was a part of the foundation and gave me one that's like attached to like this little wooden
Yeah,
piece, and I have it saved in my
that's
office.
cool.
But that was a big help for me. And then that was in 2010. So then fast forwarding now to being a part of StacheStrong, and to be able to share my story and my message along with the StacheStrong message and GJ's, like it's just the amount, like we just I just sent you a screenshot yesterday.
Yeah.
A woman that heard you talking on a webinar at a company yesterday also heard me talk at the University of Florida years past, and then found out I was on the board after she did some looking up. And I was like, hey, so it's just amazing, because that one person may know someone that
Yep.
StacheStrong could help to whatever capacity. And then it just, like you said, just spider webs. And that's, I mean, I refer to it as like a ripple effect. It just takes one, and then it just keeps going.
And I think that's why like to your question, our charity has worked, and why, it is difficult to run this at times, but it really isn't, because it's the story. It's GJ's story, that we're different than other charities in the fact that we are a family that has faced every step of that diagnosis from start to end, and now in grief. We are a real story, and an org that you can go to and relate to and understand. But really, it's that story that makes StacheStrong what it is and drives us forward.
Yeah, the story is everything, especially with something so raw and authentic and so inspiring and wanting to help other people. I think that's why I believe StacheStrong is seeing the success that it's seen in such a short time, and been able to fund different research that is going to be innovating in this world of GBM and other brain cancers potentially. And on that note, like you said, it's not easy, but it is. But you also work a full-time job. Like no one on the board takes a paycheck. Like it's like
Yeah.
100% of the money is raised for the mission. So two things, like how do you balance that with your full-time job or career? But then also, how does this year of 2020 and COVID impacted it?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I'm my full-time job is at PricewaterhouseCoopers. I'm a CPA in a tax consulting role, and I've always been a firm believer that if you want something, you go get it. And in the start of StacheStrong, in the first year going through treatments and also running this on the side, I'd get home after a long day, and I knew my brother was going through more. And if I worked 8 to 8, I could log on and write content and post and reach out to people and try to grow our mission, until I fell asleep at 1, 2 a.m. Right?
Yeah.
It was one of those things where, yeah, did I sleep a lot less in the beginning of this? Absolutely. But it was a way too for me to, like, it was therapeutic, and it was a way for me to, I've always, I enjoy writing, and to put, my brother's fight in words. And I think it just helped me personally. I think it helped him as well, as we went through things, to kind of, put it in that light, and be able to share that story to help others. But, obviously with work, treatments, I didn't miss any treatments with him, and also running this, it is a lot of work. But again, I think it comes down to whatever's going on in your life, you can, if there's a will, there's a way. And I wasn't going to start this, half-assed. This was something just like his fight. We were in, 110% pedal to the metal. And then you flash forward to now, at the start of this year, basically, we had a whole year of planned events. We had a foundation beneath us. We had a plan, a strategy, and COVID came in and knocked it all out. And, I've had this conversation a lot with my parents, and COVID's tough, right? And being, isolated and all these things, this new normal they talk about, we lived that. I did that for 2.5 years before COVID was a word. And, COVID is serious, and you know you have to take all precautions into effect. But the effect of COVID mentally and emotionally was something that did not bother me, because in my mind we'd already gone to the bottom, right?
Yep.
So all of a sudden, you started a year and a half ago, now COVID's hit, you're just starting over again, right? You have to find new ways to raise funds, to tell your story, to get out there, and also keep in the back of your mind that this is affecting a lot of people. And you know, StacheStrong and GBM might not be on the forefront of everyone's mind, but we were able to launch our online store. We were able to fully convert our annual 5K, which was, you know, my brother was a big runner. We just kind of created it 2 years, you know, this was the third year, but 2 years ago, just as a small town, upstate New York thing to get everyone together and, you know, ultimately to see my brother, right? And the first year he ran in 8-minute miles, 5K, right? 24 and change. And everyone's looking around at my brother, you know, a year post brain surgery with GBM still in his brain, running by everyone, right? So it really built that 5K into a event, and we fully shifted to virtual. We had 1,114 people in all 50 states. Net funds of over $50,000 were raised, which just fully funded an entire research grant for an entire year at Northwestern. And you think of things like that, you just have to find a way to continue to be innovative. And just like with my brother's treatment and the start of our organization, we had to find a way. And when COVID said, you know, you can't have your two biggest events and your sponsorships and partnerships with different products like the Oscar Blues beer and Crunch Fitness rides in New York City are all canceled, we didn't take that as a, oh, woe is me, you know, maybe we just sit this year out. Let's find a way to get back, you know, on that horse and make something happen. And, you know, I sit here today, and tomorrow's November. We're 5-6 of the way through the year, and we've raised over 150K this year in a COVID year, in a year that we have no events besides our, you know, 5K that we shifted to virtual. So you just, you know, it shows that as a brand and as an organization, you know, people across the US are starting to know StacheStrong and appreciate what we're doing. And it shows that people are behind us and in our corner to ensure that even during a global pandemic, we're able to still raise much needed resources and dollars to go straight towards brain cancer research, right? COVID didn't stop GBM. GBM patients are fighting GBM and COVID. You know, talk about a 1-2, and we need to make sure that even during these times, we are continually pushing the envelope and ensuring that we're funding research.
For sure. And that's amazing that there was such a positive year despite all the things going on around the world, and the 5K pivoted to virtual and all 50 states joined in. And, you know, what you said at the beginning of that just for me comes back to perspective. Like, if everyone, and this is something I firmly believe, everyone has gone through their toughest challenges in life to this moment. Like, that's fact. Like, you're in this moment. The future hasn't happened yet. You don't know what's going to happen. But if people would reflect more on their obstacles and then see what they learned along the way, it's easy for us because we've been at such a devastating point of an obstacle in our life, you know, family, ourselves. So COVID, it's nothing new. It's just another thing, you know. It's unfortunate, of course, like, but the reality is we choose how to respond. Mm-hmm. And something I've seen or I've heard described, like, there's going to be two types of people that are coming out of COVID: people that used it to progress and learn and grow, maybe do some innovation in their business or their lifestyle, whatever, and those that take the opportunity to play small, to play the victim card. And there's no right or wrong. But it's something that we've learned vividly, that you have two choices. You either fight or you give up. It's as simple as that. Either one is going to provide a consequence, positive or negative. You determine that for yourself. There's no right or wrong, but there's just choices. And I see that, and also seeing that with StacheStrong and the community that StacheStrong has built and the support, it makes sense why COVID didn't really stop it. It is what it is, and it's all about perspective. And exactly. I know we got to wrap up soon to respect your time, because I know it was a little bit of a challenge to make this happen today, because we have some exciting news coming up. We got 2 days till November as the time we're recording now, so I'm gonna do my best to get this out today or tomorrow. But let's talk about to wrap this up, let's talk about November and Grow Stache Strong. What that is, what that means, how people can get involved, and all the exciting things that comes with growing a mustache.
Absolutely. Every November, obviously, I'm sure a lot of people listening to this know people around the globe nowadays will grow out their facial hair to participate in the phenomenon known as No Shave November. So we're inviting basically everyone, whoever you are, if you can grow a mustache or you can't, to participate with us during November by letting your mustache, beard, you name it, grow wild. Because we're basically aiming to further spread our mission, to combat GBM. And I think aligning a purpose behind, growing that mustache, right? A lot of people will just grow it during November because you can, and that's what happens and whatever. If you can align a purpose and make GBM awareness and StacheStrong, the reason behind why you're growing out your mustache, I think it can go a long way, both for raising awareness, but also, raising funds. We've learned firsthand how difficult it is for a lot of people to talk about brain cancer, to talk about GBM. Patients, families, they feel isolated, right? And being able to start that conversation one stash at a time and grow out a mustache throughout November in support of StacheStrong, I think can have a profound impact. You're one of our participants. We're basically making a unique fundraising page on our website for every participant. We're close to 20 different individuals and groups that are doing it. And really, like you said, we're on Zoom calls with work. We're out, you might go pick up something to eat, wherever you go. If you all of a sudden have a mustache going and you don't normally, or it's getting even longer than it normally is, it's a conversation starter.
Yep.
And instead of that just being, I'm doing it to do it, I'm doing this for StacheStrong. It's a 501c3 raising funds and awareness for brain cancer research. I mean, that's all you got to say, right? And instantly it's like, that's awesome. I love that, they go to our website, StacheStrong.org, they learn more. All of a sudden, someone gets connected in a way, like you said, with the webinar I spoke on yesterday, someone participating in the company that you spoke to when they were in college. And it just goes to show that if we can start that conversation and grow StacheStrong throughout November and get those mustaches going. I'll be shaving up for my stash shortly this weekend, but I think it can really do some great things for raising funds and awareness for brain cancer research.
Yeah, for sure. It's just, like you said, a great conversation starter, gets people interested. More times than not, someone's going to know someone, if not them and their family, that directly has been impacted by, brain cancer, brain tumors, something like that, and want to get involved. And that's just how these things grow. And that's how these movements really grow, to support other people and contribute to other people. So I'm excited. This is the one time me growing a mustache, Jackie doesn't oppose because of the purpose behind it. So for all those that usually get bugged by your girlfriend, your mom, your wife, your sister, whatever, hey, you got a good purpose now, so it's all good.
We're working remote, right?
Yep.
There's a purpose behind it. Anyone says something funky about your mustache, I'm growing out for brain cancer research. I mean, what else can you ask for? Every guy out there has the perfect excuse right now to grow that mustache and do it with purpose. Yep. And even if you can't grow a mustache, and my mom, my sister, how can we get involved, right? I mean, you can make a finger mustache. You can make something funny on a piece of paper. If you're posting on social media and tagging StacheStrong, people are seeing and taking notice. It doesn't, StacheStrong doesn't mean you have to grow a mustache to be involved. StacheStrong is a mantra. It's a lifestyle. It's how we live StacheStrong. And, anyone can participate in November, but especially those with, the follicle beauties of a mustache that some people can grow. It really does start that conversation that can be so difficult for so many.
Yeah, for sure. And again, if you can't grow a mustache, I mean, the website's got a bunch of great apparel options, and so there's like you said, there's multiple ways, so there's no excuses in terms of if you want to get involved, like there's options.
We're here for you.
Grow it. Well, also, I know you mentioned the website StacheStrong.org. And I think we covered a great amount for today and the time that we have. And I know we're going to be having you on again for the Gray Matters podcast. We'll get Jackie involved because I know she was at the summit as well. And she's always great to bring in. Gray Matters podcast was started with her and I. We wanted to talk about these things, like you mentioned, brain tumors, brain cancer, cancer in general, like health ailments, like it's not something that's fun to talk about. And I find people aren't willing to talk about it because they may feel ashamed or embarrassed or broken or weird. Like I felt all of those when I was diagnosed. And it really, for me, it was BMX interviewing me, when I was still competing, to like get my voice out, and then starting to take notice of the power of sharing. It connects you with people. It helps other people. So we'll definitely have you back on. We'll talk about some more things. I have a lot more questions, but before we head out, is there anything else you want to mention? Is there any direction you want to have people go? I mean, we got StacheStrong.org. I'm going to link everything in the description below. But is there anything else that you want to say
Just
before we head out?
follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at StacheStrong. Like you said, StacheStrong.org. But really, anyone listening, just anything you're going through, know that you have a choice and a purpose to make something happen. And as we say here, every day you can live Stache Strong. So I appreciate you guys having us on. I appreciate the time to share my brother's story, our family's mission, and Stache Strong success, and only up from here. And glad to have you as a very vital board member of our organization.
Well, I'm honored and I'm grateful to be a part of it. I appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to speaking again soon. But yeah, thanks again for coming on, for sharing GJ's story, like you said, the family's mission, and how people can get involved. And we'll talk again soon.
All right, sounds good, Josh. Be good.
You too. Thanks.